went to the wrap party, that this was it for the Andy Griffith Show.
What if the most wholesome face on television was quietly enduring one of Hollywood's coldest behind-the-scenes betrayals? What if the director behind A Beautiful Mind spent decades haunted by the stories he didn't tell? And the people he once believed in turning into strangers on the national stage? Ron Howard, the red-headed kid chasing fireflies on the Andy Griffith Show, looked every bit the wholesome small-town son. But behind those scenes, the perfect Mayberry image masked complicated relationships. Fans adored the effortless camaraderie between Ron, Andy, and Don Knotts. But beneath the laughter was someone who sparked resentment. Someone Ron and others quietly kept at arm's length for years. That one feud hurt so deeply, even Andy couldn't let it go. The Andy Griffith Show premiered October 3rd, 1960, and ran until April 1st, 1968. Over 8 seasons and 249 episodes, 159 in black and white and 90 in color. It held top 10 Nielsen ratings without fail. It even closed its final season at number 1, joining the ranks of I Love Lucy and Seinfeld. Yet, while audiences basked in nostalgic joy, the cast were navigating personal clashes. The show had humble origins. The characters first appeared during a Danny Thomas episode, introducing Andy Taylor, the widowed sheriff raising his son, Opie, played by young Ron, amid small-town life. Andy often described Mayberry as feeling more like the 1930s than the swing in the 60s, saying it was a time gone by. He meant it smilingly, but the nostalgia came at a cost. Behind the porch swings and fishing poles, tensions sparked, especially between Andy Griffith and Frances Bavier, Aunt Bee herself. Frances Elizabeth Bavier, born in New York in 1902, bristled at the show's cozy simplicity. A trained stage actress and a Primetime Emmy winner, she longed for dramatic roles beyond domestic duties on screen. On set, she was known to bristle at scripts she saw as trivial. Andy, ever the steady anchor, preferred a lighter tone, and their styles didn't mesh. Rumor says cast and crew tiptoed around her sensitivity, that friction simmered, unseen by the audience. Behind the scenes, she resisted anything she deemed too modern or risque, which sometimes included wardrobe or dialogue. Castmates whispered about her clashes with directors and discomfort with anything that strayed from her moral code. Andy, viewing the show as a tight community, found those moments disruptive. Their friendship fractured, leaving a chasm that lasted for years. It wasn't until she was gravely ill that she sought forgiveness, calling Andy 4 months before her death to apologize for being difficult during the show. While that drama brewed, another life was quietly transforming. Ron Howard, born March 1st, 1954 in Duncan, Oklahoma, came from a family steeped in show business. His father, Rance, an actor-director, and his mother, Jean, an actress. By age 5, he had his first credited film, and steady work followed on TV classics like Twilight Zone and Dennis the Menace. But when he landed the role of Opie in 1960, everything changed. That toy turtle scene in his first episode? He confessed years later it felt strange pretending it was real and motionless. It's a memory he still finds oddly comforting. Gentle guidance, subtle jokes, and an atmosphere that felt safe even if it wasn't. For 8 seasons, Ron gave life to the earnest, grounded Opie Taylor. The show earned his co-stars 6 Emmys, though Andy never won during its run. Still, the legacy endured. Gomer Pyle spun off, and after Mayberry ended, reunion specials and Mayberry RFD kept its spirit alive. Fans converge every year in Mount Airy, North Carolina, Mayberry's real-world echo, that grips onto what the show represented, even if life inside was messier. Ron's path didn't end with child star fame. In 1974, he emerged as Richie Cunningham in Happy Days, cementing a place in pop culture history beside Henry Winkler's Fonzie. On set, their chemistry felt effortless and authentic, and it helped elevate the show into an icon. But Ron harbored bigger dreams. While still in front of the camera, he negotiated with Roger Corman to star in Eat My Dust so he could direct Grand Theft Auto in 1977. His first time behind the lens. That bold move changed everything. Through the late 70s and early 80s, Ron directed TV movies like Skyward, followed by Night Shift in 1982, starring Michael Keaton and Fonzie himself, marking Ron as more than a former child actor. Then came Splash in 1984 with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah, a love story with charm and heart that became a box office hit. He went on to direct Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, Frost Nixon, The Da Vinci Code, Solo, A Star Wars Story, Hillbilly Elegy, and most recently the Apple TV Plus docu-series Fight for Glory, 2024 World Series. He won 2 Oscars, 7 Emmys, 2 Golden Globes, and even a Grammy. His journey from that toy turtle to Hollywood legend is a testament to vision and resilience. Still, before Netflix-style success and major awards, Ron's earliest lessons came on a set where not everything was sunny, where hidden grievances roiled under the surface, where he learned that fame and nostalgia could mask something deeper and harder. And behind that iconic facade of Mayberry, those talents were quietly forged. A quiet rivalry took root not just in Mayberry's fictional streets, but behind the scenes, an unspoken Cold War that didn't fade when the camera stopped rolling. That undercurrent of tension quietly shadowed the cast for years, tarnishing an image viewers believed to be untouchable. At the center was Sheriff Andy Taylor, played by Andy Griffith with steady grace and a disarming calm. He balanced fatherhood, law enforcement, and neighborly counsel, shaping Mayberry's moral core without ever raising his voice. His presence anchored the series in ways so warm, so effortless, it felt like home. Alongside him, Aunt Bee, portrayed by Frances Bavier, held the heart of the Taylor household. She wasn't just a grandmotherly figure dishing out comforting food. She quietly guided the family with her gentle reprimands and homespun wisdom. On screen, their partnership shone as a picture of harmony. Yet off-camera, their working styles clashed in ways that audiences never saw. In interviews and fan lore, whispers of trouble grew into undeniable tension. Griffith's playful nature, loud, social, full of practical jokes, ran counter to Bavier's preference for solitude and professionalism. She reportedly ignored practical jokes, snubbing the levity that came naturally to him. Her moodiness and reserve struck some as cold, a stark contrast to the easygoing camaraderie Griffith and Don Knotts embodied. Those differences weren't just personality quirks, they caused real moments of friction. Ron Howard's father, Rance, once observed that Andy seemed to resent her. After all, Bavier was a producer's choice rather than Griffith's own pick for Aunt Bee. During readings, even small requests like repositioning her for lighting could trigger sharp reactions. Producers walked on eggshells, trying to avoid setting off an emotional explosion. One day, Griffith attempted to bridge the strain by visiting her unannounced. Instead of thawing ice, it coldly widened the gap. Bavier, fiercely protective of her privacy, shut the door in his face. That rejection stung, fueling a rift few knew about. Bavier was careful, but accuracy mattered more. She wanted every line, every gesture to feel exact. It wasn't until she was facing her own mortality that the story shifted. In November 1989, Frances Bavier was hospitalized with heart complications and cancer. 4 months earlier, she'd called Griffith, offering an apology that set both of them free. In her voice over the line, she admitted she'd been difficult. He responded with grace, accepting her words and acknowledging the pain that had lingered. Months later, she passed at 86 in Siler City, North Carolina, a place she chose for its quiet solitude. Neighbors remembered her reclaiming a life far removed from Hollywood's glare. Andy Griffith remained in North Carolina as well, his final chapter ending on Roanoke Island in July 2012. According to his death certificate, a heart attack, after battling coronary conditions, brought an end to the gentle lawman who had brought peace to Mayberry and comfort to viewers. His body was laid to rest mere hours later, fulfilling the wish for a swift, private goodbye. When both left the world, the era of Mayberry didn't just fade, it gained depth. Theirs was the story of forgiveness born late, of pride confronted, of humanity recognized. Theirs was a quiet closure that told a truth more poignant than any sitcom script. In the background of that chapter, another quieter story unfolded. A love that spanned decades and generations. Ron Howard and Cheryl Alley met in high school, both 16, and what began as teenage friendship quickly turned into lasting devotion. They married on June 7, 1975, surrounded by family and friends. High school shared their first date in a mint green Volkswagen Beetle, then married 5 years later in their 20s. Ron once joked that the Beetle still runs great. So do we. Their family expanded with 4 children, Bryce Dallas, Jocelyn, Paige, and Reed, and now grandchildren. Their journey was anchored in communication, mutual respect, and yes, a bit of luck. In a recent interview, Ron said the secret was functional teamwork, problem solving, and trusting each other even when they disagreed. Cheryl's resilience grounded him, balancing his creative impulses with stable, honest partnership. They pressed pause on the celebration and remembered the road that led them here. 40,000 miles of shared sunrises and late-night drives woven into every mile. No red carpets, no glittering dinners, just the low hum of that mint green Beetle and 50 years of silent understanding between them. Hollywood forgets the power of quiet consistency, the kind of love that doesn't headline tabloids but endures in kitchens, car seats, and gentle goodnights. Ron and Cheryl didn't forget. They lived it, nurtured it, and protected it. And after 5 decades, their bond is still blossoming. Ron Howard isn't just a director with Oscars under his belt. Few figures have left a lasting dual impression in front of and behind the lens the way he has. He joined an elite group alongside Clint Eastwood, George Clooney, Bradley Cooper, Greta Gerwig, Jordan Peele. But unlike many, he's better known for directing than performing. His journey started with the friendly face America loved, Opie on The Andy Griffith Show, then Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. But beneath that charm was a young mind absorbing every camera angle and every character beat, building a deep hunger for storytelling. In 1977, Ron bet on himself, crafting Grand Theft Auto, no relation to the game, a fast-paced, scrappy comedy that announced a new storyteller in Hollywood. It was messy, it was bold, and it carried his name beyond child star status. Through the 80s, films like Splash showcased his knack for blending heart and humor, even as a few misfires reminded him that slow climbs often lead to steady peaks. Then came 2001's A Beautiful Mind, a turning point that resonated across the industry and the world. Featuring Russell Crowe as John Nash, the film explored the brilliance and fragility of genius. It swept the Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, Supporting Actress, Adapted Screenplay. It marked Ron's arrival as a director who could balance emotional gravity with narrative clarity. Yet that success came with scrutiny. Key biographical details, Nash's struggle with mental health, a hidden child, his estrangement from that family, were omitted. Critics said Ron had smoothed the edges. He later explained it was to preserve emotional focus. But the backlash cut deeper when Nash himself expressed that it felt like his truth had been reshaped. That episode wasn't the only time Ron found himself wrestling with how narratives affect real people. Fast forward to Hillbilly Elegy, his 2020 adaptation of J.D. Vance's memoir. Vance, not yet a politician when the story was filmed, shared his Appalachian roots in a raw, resonant voice. The film premiered on Netflix to praise and criticism, but few predicted Vance's swift move into politics. Now a senator, Vance has embraced a conservative platform with a zeal that surprised Ron, one that Ron has quietly distanced himself from. His disappointment wasn't declared through headlines or flashy announcements. It was felt in the subtle way he chose new collaborators, avoided political optics, and urged audiences to watch, question, and vote. That same careful observation served him well decades ago as a child working with Frances Bavier, Aunt Bee, on The Andy Griffith Show. He was the sweet-faced Opie, but he remembers a co-star who was exacting, unwelcoming, almost impossible to read. The set might have seemed perfect, but for young Ron, frustration built behind every take, especially in scenes like the infamous pickle eating where he had to choke down jar after jar. He didn't change the script or confront her. He kept the peace and learned early that not every smile hides warmth. That moment stayed with him, ingraining a lesson. Not everyone plays the role they seem to be. So when Vance reappeared on the public stage with a very different voice, Ron recognized the warning signs. Disappointment, yes, but also clarity. His message was gentle but firm. Stories shape culture, but we each decide what stories guide us. Today, Ron Howard sits atop a legacy few filmmakers can match. He's directed everything from Apollo 13 to The Da Vinci Code, from Frost, Nixon to Solo, a Star Wars story. He added A Beautiful Mind, Cinderella Man, Angels and Demons, and the Apple TV Plus documentary series, The Duel, 2023. He's earned 2 Oscars, 7 Emmys, 2 Golden Globes, a Grammy. He's basically a human awards circuit. But that acclaim is only half his story. Ron's lifestyle mirrors his choices, pragmatic, purposeful, and disciplined. In the early 2000s, he purchased a modernist retreat in Ojai, California, a place he still calls home. He's been linked to luxury vehicles like a Lexus LC Hybrid and a Tesla Model S, cars that blend comfort, efficiency, and understated elegance. As for timepieces, he's been spotted wearing a Rolex Datejust, a classic nod to enduring value. He and Cheryl also reportedly purchased a Gulfstream G280 private jet via their production company, Imagine Entertainment, reinforcing a quiet confidence in their capacity to work on their own terms. But it's their financial strategy that offers a deeper lesson. Diversify, stay grounded, and protect your work. Imagine Entertainment, which he co-founded in 1986 with producer Brian Grazer, holds ownership stakes in films, TV series, and documentaries. Major partnerships include collaborations with Netflix, Apple, and National Geographic. He's backed sustainable ventures like TerraCycle and actively invests in renewable energy startups. He maintains comprehensive health and asset insurance policies to shield the company, his family, and his projects from unexpected shocks. Even now in his 70s, Ron Howard doesn't crave attention. He never really did. He's the kind of Hollywood veteran who would rather be behind the camera, out of frame, adjusting the shot while others chase the spotlight. And maybe that's exactly why his work resonates so deeply. Because it's never been about him. It's always been about the story. When you watch a Ron Howard film, you're not just seeing polished cinematography or clever dialogue. You're witnessing an artist trying to understand people. From the wounded brilliance of John Nash to the quiet bravery of Jim Lovell in Apollo 13, his characters don't shout to be heard. They struggle, doubt, endure. They feel like us. There's something almost rebellious in that, especially in today's cinematic landscape where louder often wins. Howard leans the other way. His stories invite you to lean in, not sit back, and maybe that's what makes his journey so remarkable. He found success by whispering when everyone else screamed, but Ron didn't do it alone. Cheryl Howard, his wife of more than 50 years, has been a constant presence, not just behind him, but beside him. Unlike many celebrity marriages built on red carpet appearances and rehearsed public affection, theirs is quiet, grounded, and real. Cheryl appears in nearly every film Ron directs, not as a headline-grabbing cameo, but as a small tribute woven into the background. That's their language. Subtle, sincere, enduring. They raised 4 children, one of whom, Bryce Dallas Howard, has carved her own path in Hollywood. An accomplished actress and director, Bryce credits her father with teaching her the value of listening, of patience, of doing the work even when no one is watching. And that's something Ron always understood. Real influence doesn't announce itself. It accumulates slowly, steadily, over time. And that influence goes far beyond Hollywood. In quiet boardrooms and across global film sets, Ron has mentored rising directors, guided first-time writers, and offered opportunities to countless creatives who just needed someone to believe in them. He doesn't hoard power. He shares it. Because in his eyes, storytelling isn't a competition. It's a collective inheritance. Still, the world has changed around him. The industry he once knew, defined by physical film reels and handshake deals, is now saturated with algorithms, metrics, and streaming wars. Yet, through it all, Howard has adapted without compromising his essence. His recent work with Apple TV Plus and National Geographic shows he's not afraid of the new, so long as the heart of the story remains intact. There's a quiet lesson in that maybe success isn't about reinventing yourself for every trend, but staying rooted in the truth of what you do best. In Ron's case, that's crafting stories with soul, honoring characters with complexity, and letting the work speak louder than the applause. What stands out most isn't the cars, houses, or jet. It's the philosophy beneath them. Ron views wealth as a tool, not a trophy. His investments are practical, focused on longevity and impact. His major takeover? Stories that last, lessons that endure, and a legacy that teaches resilience, empathy, and responsibility. From a red-headed boy eating pickles under Aunt Bee's glare to a confident filmmaker and stable family man, Ron Howard's journey reveals a profound evolution, a blueprint for managing creative success, personal integrity, and public trust. It's proof that money can serve meaning, not just status. If this story moved you, drop a comment and let us know which Ron Howard film left a mark on you. Subscribe for more untold celebrity journeys.